Keenan's going to talk about it in his cells.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Dynasty Mafia podcast. We are at episode 40 here on August 12th, getting ready for some preseason action as the games are finally underway. We've got training camp in the depths of that. We got a lot of injuries to catch up on. We got a lot of news to catch up on. We're going to talk about some Dynasty buys, some Dynasty sells, and we're going to hit some of our My Guys. It's about that time, getting ready for 2021. Football is here. Like I said, welcome in, guys. We got a great episode today. Make sure to say hello, Eric and Keenan. What's going on tonight, fellas?
Not much. What about you boys? Haven't seen you guys in a while. Where have you guys been?
It's been a busy summer. You see me a couple episodes ago. I've been traveling for work and stuff. Man, it's been crazy.
Yeah, Tony
Yeah,
has a couple.
I got a couple of reasons. Yeah, no, man, it's been definitely pretty busy. We're getting ready to come up though on our weekly episodes when the season starts. Hopefully, we have a couple more to get in before the season as well, because I know we got our rankings. Got to get through those positions. But like I said, there's a lot to go through with all of the injuries. With preseason games here, unfortunately, that brings the injuries. Training camp, a lot of soft tissues coming through. So we're gonna catch up on that. And Keenan,
yes, sir.
What have you been doing the last couple of weeks too?
Not much, man. I'm after NBA season ended, the finals finished. Kind of been bored, but I just completed my 110th mock draft. So I'm getting. So I've had some free time. I drafted every position, every spot in every draft at least a couple times. Been taking mental notes. The problem with mock drafts is, in all our leagues, we've had the same people in the leagues, and we kind of know who likes who and when they're going to draft and what player they're going to reach for. Like Wayne, he'll go with Tom Brady in the second round like every year. But you look at the mock drafts, like, and you end up in like the 8th round. You're drafting, I don't know, like let's say Sutton's there or whatever. I'm like, there's no way he's going to be there because some of my idiot friends are going to take him in the 5th round because they love him or something like that. But I've had fun doing a lot of mock drafts, so I'm trying to get to 200 before the end of August. Our draft is September 5th. I got almost a month still.
Yeah, you do have a lot of free time. It's only been a couple weeks.
It's a lot easier to do mock drafts now with cell phones. Remember back in the day when we first started doing fantasy football like 10 years ago, you would need to sit at a computer. It wasn't even a laptop. You would have to sit at the one home computer that we all had and in the house, and you would have to do a mock draft and then get kicked off because someone had to do homework or whatever. But now the kids are enjoying their milk. You're able to let me do a couple rounds, see what happens.
I do a lot. Are you doing them through Fantasy Pros?
Fantasy Pros, yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot through there. And, they used to make you wait, like, 4 years ago, you had to wait till, like, March or April to start doing their mock drafts. And now I think I've been starting to do them since January.
No, see, I'm not that crazy. I'm not that crazy. I wait till August 1st comes around. That's when I get into the mode. Or actually, Cam Akers got hurt, and I was like, "Crap! All right, let's get rolling here. We gotta figure out my strategies." Once the first injury happened,
as sad as it is, and we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. What about you, Eric? How many mocks have you been doing so far?
I haven't counted to the dot 110.
I got tallies. I got a tally going.
Yeah, I don't tally them up, but no, I've just been doing. I just try to do a few from different spots just to get a feel for where guys are going to go and what I can get in what rounds. But yeah, I don't have a specific tally, but yeah, no. We can talk about some of the.
I took my wife's little whiteboard, so she got rid of this little whiteboard that had like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, like, and so now we have 3 kids and we kind of run out of room on this little whiteboard. So she had to upgrade to a giant whiteboard. I'm like, well, let me take this to my desk. Maybe I'll find a good use for it. And what do you know? It's just been tallies. I don't know why I started tallying it. I was just curious. I'm like, maybe I even missed a couple, but it's been a lot. But also, Fantasy Pros keeps a tab on it too for you, so I'll log in and get the final count. But it's around 110. It was at 97 a couple days ago when I texted you guys.
Do you have a favorite spot that maybe you found through all of these mocks that you've really been liking? How it's been ending up?
Well, I mean, it depends what round we're talking. If we're talking the first and second, I like to be at the end. But if we're talking about third and fourth, I like to be in slot 1 or 2. You get greedy as you're like doing these mocks. You're like, oh, maybe this guy will slip. But like I said, it's so tough to judge with all our friends because it's always the same guys, and I don't really have a favorite spot. I just you got to prepare for everything. So I've done every spot a couple times.
Yeah, I've hated the beginning every single year. Like all the time, I never wanted to be in the first 4, never want to be in the first 5, and then I hate being in the middle. So I've always found myself loving near the end. And this season, when I've been doing the mocks, I just love the steals at the 2-3 turn. I love the steals at the 4-5 or the 5-6. It's nice. Yeah, 4-5.
I like 8. I like the 8 slot. You don't.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I used to like the ends a while ago, but I'm more of a middle guy now because I can't let guys hope they slide for 20 picks. I like being able to pick every 10 picks and just have a pick every time around. Yeah. I also find it's a little bit easier to kind of, if you have a draft where you're able to make trades and whatnot, just because you're right in the middle of the round every single time. So
yeah,
I usually go for pick 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, all right, man. I feel you there. So we're talking about drafts, and when obviously, like we've been talking about, the preseason's going. So when do you guys typically say the best time to do your redraft leagues is? We got the season starting on September 10th. So
after the final preseason game.
Final preseason game?
Let me tell you a story.
That's the best time. It's the best time.
The best time is in September.
I know it gets you. Yeah.
It's in September. It's right before the season's about to start, and that's why ours is the 5th. And when is your big league, Antonio?
Yeah, it's usually the same day as yours or the same weekend. Yeah. But I always love Labor Day weekend is always my favorite time.
Yeah,
I love going into it. I'm really excited.
After cuts are made, and after Andrew Luck decides to retire, then you're not in the middle of a draft, and you picked Andrew Luck a round before, and then 10 minutes later, the announcement comes out that he is retiring. How about that? But yeah, so it's September.
I want to complain about that. The one time ever for my home league that we did the draft before the 4th preseason game, it was the year Jordy Nelson got hurt and tore his ACL on like that first catch on the first drive of that 4th preseason game. I want to say it was 2016 maybe. I wound up winning the league that year though, so it wound up turning out for the best. But no, after that I definitely vowed, and it's tough though because we have a live draft. So when you have a live draft, it's always tough to get 10 to 12 to 14 people together. In this situation, 10, but that's kind of what happened when we had to go a little early. Always got to cater though. There's always that 1 or 2 people you got to cater to. They know who they are.
Oh my, yeah, they know who they are. We didn't have any issues this year though.
No, for the most part, we did not. It's always good to have a group chat. Make sure you have a group chat together. If you don't, you're never going to get anything done.
Or 40 group chats.
Hey, whatever it takes. All right, so I'm working on a smaller computer here. We always have those technical issues here with the Mafia.
No. You always have those technical issues.
We are together. We are a team. We are a team. All right. So let's get into some injuries here. We did talk about Cam Akers. We haven't had a chance to talk about Cam Akers since the injury, but he did tear that Achilles. They're potentially talking about a late postseason run. He may be back for that. So I don't want to talk too much about it because I know people have had their time to sink in, but Darrell Henderson's really who I kind of want to focus on. And I know we're going to talk about Cam Akers a bit later with Dynasty. So let's just talk quickly about Darrell Henderson and Xavier Rhodes, Xavier Rhodes' his name is slowly creeping up there. What do you think about the two of them, especially for redraft this year? Do you think Henderson can end up as an RB1? Keenan?
if I'm a Cam Akers, if I have stock in Cam Akers, I'm nervous. Any running back, any good running back can be an RB1 in that offense. So, I mean, Darrell Henderson he shined a little bit last year. And towards the end of the year when Cam took over, that's when Henderson kind of slipped into the RB2 for the Rams. But RB1 fantasy-wise, I don't know. I want to say no, but you never know with that offense.
You know, with all the injuries we see, I definitely could see an RB1 one season, but it's just tough with Xavier Rhodes also getting all this hype and everything. If they end up splitting the backfield, I believe Malcolm Brown is still there, right?
No.
Oh, no, he's not?
He's gone.
No, he's in Miami.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's perfect. If they split carries, but I mean Henderson's gonna get the work right off the bat, and
yeah,
like Keenan said last year, he showed some flashes and showed if you give him a full workload, he can handle it. It's just, can he do it on a consistent basis? That's what we're gonna find out. But it's definitely very possible.
Yeah, he's still creeping up there with his ADP. But he had some flashes with the Rams, and we trust. I mean, he's got a career 4.5 yards per carry, and we trust Sean McVay, who's kind of just like that Kyle Shanahan, where you just put somebody in there and they're going to perform really well. Doesn't matter who the player is, because every player in the NFL is talented, right? So I think that Darrell Henderson is going to get that first crack. Xavier Rhodes, I think he's just really a name right now. I think he's somebody. It's somebody you need to be, stashing on your benches, or at least picking up late in redraft in a couple of weeks if he doesn't creep up too much. But if he's going anywhere past around 12 or 13, I would say there's definitely some more important players right now. But Darrell Henderson is slowly getting into the fourth round, and that I wanted to say it was too rich for my blood to begin with, but we're going to talk about the Rams a little bit later. But I'm excited for Matthew Stafford, man. He loves to throw to the running backs. He's shown it. He's had a running back finish top 3 in targets on that team 3 times, I believe, when I was looking earlier, because we saw what Theo Riddick can do. And I'm really excited to see that somebody has to get those catches. They drafted Tutu Atwell, who's the short route runner, and they may use him in the run game a bit. But I don't know. I think Henderson's going to get the first shot, and he could wind up being a steal. He
could be, or he can be a dud. How much did you just spend in Fab for Xavier there?
So we have combined Fab in your dynasty for off season and during the season, I spent 25% of my budget on him. And I was completely fine with that because I still have that 75%. I did use some on some other players that I felt it notable, but I think I have like 60% left of my Fab.
Yeah. I mean, I put in 30 for him, and I was shocked that you went 51 on him.
I don't believe I have Henderson in that league, but the Rams like to run the ball. I know that's certainly going to go down a little bit more with Stafford because he's going to throw it over 600 times for the first time since his second season. I certainly anticipate that. But I do believe that Henderson's going to be the guy to at least see, barring a potential injury, I think he's a lock for at least 225 touches. I think 200 carries and at least 25 catches, which should wind up being a bit more, is certainly in the realm. So let's move on from Cam Akers. Michael Thomas, we're certainly having some issues, it seems, between the Saints and Michael Thomas, but more so let's just talk about the ligaments in his ankle. He had a surgery in June, and it seemed like there was some disconnect between the teams that they didn't really find out about it for about a month. And it sounds to be like a 3 to 4 month injury. So with that being said, they have their bye week 8. And if he goes, or week 7, I'm sorry. And if he goes on the PUP, week 6, sorry. And if it goes on the PUP, he has to miss 6 games. So that will put him out through week 7. And with that being the case, where do you see yourself looking at Michael Thomas?
Where do you draft him in redraft leagues right now? It's just like, this is a situation where I'm scared to take even a gamble on him in the 8th round if he slips that low, because he might not play till the end of the season. And then what? You kind of wasted a draft pick. And Breeze is not there anymore. You have Jameis Winston playing and as a quarterback, and you have Tebow 2.0 there in Hill, but if the best case scenario, if I'm staying away from Michael Thomas, unless he slips to the 13th round or something like that, then you want to grab him and stash him on your IR. Okay, but would you take him in the 8th round if he's there? I don't think I would.
No, I think that's still too rich for me too. And when we did our last buys and sells in June, I talked about Michael Thomas being my big buy. But now with this news, their bye week is week 6. And like I said, he'll have to be out at least to week 8 if he starts the season on the PUP.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
I don't know. It's with now this you mix the injury with the tension. It's not even just he has an injury. There's tension between both sides. So it's tough for me to even say, like you said, round eight's too rich for me. I think the earliest will have to be double-digit rounds, and I'm taking that chance. And I might be okay missing that out this year, or I try to trade for him come week 5 or 6 if he's out a little bit.
Yeah, that's probably your best bet is.
And on top of that, even when he does come back, he's going to have to acclimate with Winston or Hill, whoever the QB ends up being. Anticipating it's Winston, but it's not good.
It's like it's frustrating. That's what.
Especially he missed so much time last year, and everybody expected him to be back, and then just like he was saying how the team didn't really find out about it until whenever, and it's just not a good situation, but something you got to deal with. And like you guys said, if you can get him in the later rounds, I definitely take a flyer on him.
Let me ask you a quick question. Switch to Dynasty real quick. If somebody offered you a 22-second right now for Michael Thomas, would you take it?
No. He's 28 years. 28, I believe, or 27. That's still he's going to come back and he's going to be great for.
What about 2 22 seconds?
No,
you still need a first.
I would need 2 firsts if I was. Somebody already offered me a first for him. I said no.
Yeah, I need. I'm a gambler.
Would you trade?
I'll
trade DeAndre Hopkins for a second right now?
No.
Well, no, but you don't have quarterback issues with Hopkins. You don't have injury issues with Hopkins. You don't have team tension issues with Hopkins. There's a chance he holds out the rest of the season. If he goes on the PUP,
is the quarterback, I don't see a quarterback issue. I mean, Winston isn't necessarily the best quarterback in the league, but he's gonna throw the ball and get him the ball plenty of times, regardless of how many times he turns the ball over. And he's gonna miss 8 games probably, 8, even 9 games, 10 games, dynasty wise at 27 years old. That's just way too cheap for me.
All right, I feel you there. Appreciate that. So talking about Carson Wentz now, he had foot surgery last week and is out 5 to 12 weeks. But they just talked about earlier yesterday, actually, that they think that it might be more week 1 he's going to be ready for. So they're leaning more on the 5-week recovery. But if he did go a little longer than anticipated, you are talking the potential middle of the season. And then you had Quentin Nelson, their star guard, one of the best guards in the league, if not the best, had a freakishly same exact injury. And he got surgery, but it seems like they're both going to be returning around the same time. But this obviously alludes us to Jonathan Taylor. It alludes us to Michael Pittman. We're talking about, a couple of players that have a lot of high hopes going into their year 2s. Did Jonathan Taylor went from second or third running back down to 5 or 6? Do you still think he's a first round pick? Eric, I'm going to ask you that first.
Absolutely. I'd be taking him in the top 5 still. I know Quentin Nelson got hurt, but like you said, they're expecting him to be back in the beginning of the season. Outside of him, they still have a really good offensive line, and I think they're going to lean on their run game a lot in the beginning of the season until Wentz gets back fully healthy. And even if throughout the season, I think they're going to still lean on their run game as they did last year. So yeah, I'm really not worried at all about Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I'm not either. I think let me take a step back. I think they're rushing Carson Wentz back because the 2 other quarterbacks, Jacob Eason and who's the other quarterback that they just drafted? Sam Ehlinger. I don't think they've performed to expectation there, and I think that's why there's kind of a quarterback competition who's going to win that second second quarterback job there because Jacob Eason hasn't really performed, and now they're splitting reps in training camp. But when it comes to Jonathan Taylor, I don't care who the quarterback is. It could be Antonio, it could be Eric, it could be me. Well, if it's me, we're winning the Super Bowl. But but I don't care who the quarterback is. I'm still taking him in the first round. That's Jonathan Taylor, not you guys.
Yeah, he dropped to overall 11, RB8. So he's right behind Nick Chubb, Zeke, and Barkley. Right in front of Austin Eckler.
Come on. Barkley is hurt. Oh, you said in front of Barkley?
No, he's behind. It goes Barkley's 5, Zeke 6, Chubb 7.
That's crazy to me. With all the reports with Barkley still coming out of camps, saying he's not.
I'm surprised Zeke is up there, to be honest.
Yeah,
and this is through. So we talk about doing it through Fantasy Pros, and they take the consensus between like ESPN, MFL, Fantrax, Fantasy Football Championship. So it's definitely got some faith. You know, if you look at the Fantasy Football Championship, where people, you know, they spend some money, he's down to 11 there.
Yeah,
I just, you know, the last 8 games of the season, Jonathan Taylor was second in rush yards. You know, we saw what he did in the playoffs. I mean, he was second in rush yards. That's not saying too much when, you know, Derrick Henry had 330 more yards than he did. But with that being said, actually, wow, 430. Gosh, I forgot how good he was. Holy crap.
Who?
Derrick Henry had 1,184 yards in his last 8 games.
Yep. Sell.
And so, yeah, man, there's a lot of players we'll be talking about later. So, yeah, I don't know. I find it tough to believe that he can go lower than 4th for me right now. I'm taking him personally above Kamara. I'm definitely taking him before Chubb. I'm taking him before Barkley. I'm taking him right after Cook, so he's 3rd for me. I mean, I might be getting to a point where he's back to 2nd. I wouldn't be surprised because he's that good.
Yeah.
Speaking of great, Devontae Smith had a little bit of an injury.
You got some tissues there?
He had a week-to-week injury with an MCL sprain. I got scared when I heard he went down. That was not fun to listen to.
Wipe that tear.
Oh goodness. Gonna have to get a little tattoo tear for him. So, but I was scared with Devonta Smith going down. But we had a couple rookies having some issues. Najee Harris had his shoulder checked out. Rashad Bateman, he went down on going up for a catch, wound up hurting his groin. He actually had surgery today. So they said he'll be back sometime in September, which is a little scary. So let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on what sorry, I'm reading here. What about Rashad Bateman? Like, what are your thoughts on him? Because there was a lot of good hype coming out with camp. There's some talks that, you know, he could be that top target for Lamar Jackson. But sometime in September, where are we going to draft Bateman now?
I gotta say, I think there was way too much hype on him coming into the season. Like in dynasty startups, I believe I saw him literally going in, I think the 5th or 6th round, maybe. I could be wrong on that. But he was up there, and we've been talking for so long about this offense and how run heavy it is and how little in the passing game they have. But yet everybody's expecting Bateman to come in and be some great wide receiver that's going to have potential to be a wide receiver 1, and I don't see it.
Yeah,
Hollywood's still there. Mark Andrews is going to be the dominant receiver there.
Until Lamar proves that he can throw it down the sidelines in between the numbers or outside the numbers, I don't care who the wide receiver is. You could put Terrell Owens there, you could put Randy Moss there. It doesn't matter to me. And that's why I'm staying away from Bateman. I know, Antonio, you're going to come in with this crazy theory of why you should draft him in the 6th round or 5th round or in redrafts. And I'm with Eric on this one. Lamar just hasn't proved 2 things. Lamar hasn't proved that he can throw it outside the numbers. 3 things. Mark Andrews is wide receiver 1 there. And 3, Baltimore Ravens don't want to change their offense. It's been, 3-4 years of this now?
I think that we're seeing a little bit difference. You know, we're going to talk about Hollywood. You know, he's one of my buys. Full disclosure.
You're not seeing a difference till week 1. If they throw the ball more than they run the ball, then we could say we've seen a difference.
Don't you remember week 1 last year though, when they just dominated Miami, just killed them? Lamar threw 5 touchdowns. Like that's what you're going to see now. Remember, Lamar is so efficient, and that's why I think it's going to be helpful.
Are we only going to see that because of Bateman?
No, I'm saying that I think Bateman brings what they've been looking for. They've been drafting a big wide receiver for the last couple of years now. Miles Boykin is not working out. They unfortunately,
and on top of that, Sammy Watkins has also been getting some hype in camp as well.
And he's going to get hype. And I'm not saying that Bateman's going to be somebody, he's going off as the 59th wide receiver, 160 overall. So, he's worth a shot in the later rounds.
Oh, maybe it was
just
the one league we were in. Somebody drafted him extremely high.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I don't know why I thought I saw him going higher than that. So
it's not too far off Hollywood. And I just think we've seen flashes of Hollywood, and we've seen that, especially last season, Lamar was a bigger issue than Hollywood was. So if Hollywood can distract, if Mark Andrews is still Mark Andrews, which we know, and you have Sammy who's experienced, who will at least draw attention. I think there's going to be a lot of one-on-one for all of those players, and that's why I think Lamar is going to get back up to having a high touchdown rate. I'm not.
Well, the reason he had a high touchdown rate a couple of years ago was because of his tight ends, not because of his wide receivers.
Well, right, but if you translate that now to his wide receivers, that's going to, I think, work out for everybody. You could see Mark Andrews potentially get another 10 touchdown year, which I think is very much on the table. So let's talk about.
Is one of my buys. Mark Andrews.
Oh yeah. We're both a little bit of fans of the Ravens this year, and
I don't want to say anything about Mark Andrews because I have a trade in the works, and I know he listens to our podcast, so I'm not going to talk about it.
That's true. He does listen. Friend of the show. So Najee Harris as well had his shoulder checked out. I got to watch an interview with him the other day, and he's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun to listen to. He's very serious, but at the same point, he's letting loose. But I'm really excited just watching that a little bit more. I gave him a couple extra carries in my projections, I'm going to be honest. But they've been talking about using him a bit in the passing game. And like I said, he had his shoulder checked out. It seems like everything's going to be okay. But do you think he's going to get that workhorse role that we're all hoping for? A 300 touchback?
Well, I guess I'll go first. I mean, I've already said in the past, I think it's possible. He's another one who's getting a lot of hype in training camp. Big Ben's come out and said a lot of really good things about him. I think 300 touches. I'm hoping. I think it's definitely possible. But I definitely see a workhorse role for him. I mean, the guys behind him, there's nobody special behind him. He's by far already the best running back on that team, and I think he just dominates that role.
I'm excited for Najee Harris because, what he's going to bring to the table is potentially what Le'Veon Bell used to do. Not 100 catches, not 90 catches even. But I think the potential for a hybrid back that they've been looking for. James Conner, he didn't work out to be that. Benny Snell really is, just a guy. But I think that what we're going to see now is somebody who can do both the catching and the running. And I think that it's going to allow him to get, 12 to 15 carries a game. And that's going to give him at least 4 to 5 targets as well. So I think he's on pace for close to 50 catches. And we've talked about backs who need to, get at least 50 catches to potentially finish top 5. And I think you're going to be seeing that ability with Najee Harris here.
I mean, and Ben's he's not getting any younger. So, I mean, they're not going to be throwing the ball 40 times. So,
yeah, Najee's running back 11, right in between Aaron Jones and Antonio Gibson. And I'm going to be honest, I want Najee over both of them. Yeah, I know Aaron Jones can get a lot of touchdowns, but I think we might see a little bit of pullback on Aaron Jones this season.
I agree.
All right, so we got to talk about Dak. Actually, we got to move to Justin Jefferson because I'm just having a lot of issues this week with these injuries. Calvin Ridley scared me when they talked about how his foot's feeling better. I thought, he had a foot injury. But, yeah, Justin Jefferson, he said he's in good spirits and he's doing half speed reps. Oh, my goodness. I'm talking today, guys, I swear. Half speed reps in his drills. He said he'd be playing if it's a regular season game. But he messed up his shoulder, his AC joint. And
oh, boy.
I don't like hearing shoulder issues. And Keenan's watching the games right now.
Yeah.
What happened?
Interception, Patriots. I don't know who the quarterback is. It's not Fitzy.
Could be Big Mac.
It's my boy.
There you go. So are you worried at all about Justin Jefferson? Like I said,
no.
They're going to take.
No, he's in good spirits. He's not going to touch the field till September 9th or whatever the first week of the season is. He'll be all right. He better be all right. That's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a serious injury. I think he'll be all right. He'll rest for a while, a couple of weeks, and he'll be back.
Yeah, well, it sounds like Hollywood is having a hamstring injury. He's going to get better at. Dak's shoulder injury. They're getting another MRI on him. I'm a little worried about that. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous with Dak. That's 2 injuries in 6 months or whatever, 8 months, whatever it is.
I don't think I can talk about another Dak injury.
But
we'll monitor it. That's for sure.
Did you guys see Hard Knocks this past week?
I wanted to. I'm going to watch it. Probably. I'm going to try to watch it tomorrow.
Like he wasn't gunning a ball or anything either when he strained it. So
yeah.
But the crazy part about it is after the first practice, the coaches were like, "Oh, we got to lower his reps." Dak's like, "Oh, you don't need to lower my reps. I'm fine. I missed too much time already." Goes back into the play, and then he hurts himself. I mean, come on, Dak. You know, listen to your coaches, I guess. But I don't know. I'm nervous if I have him in Dynasty. Another big injury, and that's it for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, like I said, I think they should monitor it. Hopefully, they'll be smart about it. I know they're going to want him out there for week 1.
He shouldn't touch the field in a preseason game.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he shouldn't be after this, and I'm sure won't be. But somebody who's not touching the field right now, like we talked about Devonta Smith, but there's reports coming out that Jalen Hurts is heavily targeting Dallas Goedert and Zach Ertz, both tight ends. I mean, I'm hoping that be the case when their number 1 wide receiver is not there, and they're hoping Jalen Reagor steps up. But there's rumors as well, with the Eagles and Houston about Deshaun Watson. Are you getting scared in Dynasty if you have any Hurts shares? Like what are you feeling right now? Because I'll be honest, I have some Hurts shares, and I don't usually like to take chances on some young quarterbacks, but I am, and I'm a little bit worried if they do have that move.
I actually was just thinking about this. I don't think I'd be worried, and the reason why is because he'd still be a starting quarterback for the Houston Texans, and they have nobody else around him, and I think he'll just be running for his life. And for fantasy, that might actually be a good thing. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I'm just looking at the bright side of it, but in my eyes, he'll still be a starting quarterback at least for this year. If they trade Deshaun Watson, they're getting a quarterback that they're going to play.
I mean, if Hurts goes to Washington, go ahead. I'm sorry, Eric. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh wait, did you say Washington? I thought it was Houston.
Houston, yeah.
Okay.
The reason I said Washington was, I'm sorry. Who was the wide receiver that got just traded from Chicago to Houston?
Anthony Miller.
Oh yeah, Anthony
Miller. I'm thinking of Washington from Pittsburgh. But even if he does get traded to Houston, they got a okay wide receiver core there. They got Brandon Cooks, they got Anthony Miller, and they got Nico Collins. So it's not as bad as it looks. The wide receiving core, if Smith is hurt for a longer period of time, the wide receiving core in Houston might be better than the Eagles' wide receiving core minus Smith.
Yeah, I mean it's not a.
So
I would think the Eagles. I think that Hurts would have a lot to work with. You're hoping that that's the case, that he obviously could, but my fear is Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, like hands down. And as much as we want to say Jalen Hurts can get there, we know Watson's there. I guess it would be just if they want to commit the money and the picks to it. That's the only thing that's making me feel better about it, that it hasn't been done yet. It's just I'm afraid to wake up one of these days and my phone just shows me that Watson's there, which I'm going to love it because, I love Devonta Smith. But I would assume Hurts might go in any package as well, or Ertz, I'm sorry. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I wanted to ask, I guess, your thoughts, because I've been up sleeping or not sleeping because of that a little bit. But man, if Watson and Devonta Smith got to play together, it's just I hope Hurts steps up.
I'm gonna kick myself for not drafting him over Chase.
I know. Yeah. Speaking of somebody you did keep drafting, though, Keenan, you draft a lot of Michael Carter. You keep trying to send me a couple offers in the little leagues you don't have him in, but
no.
He started with the first team.
Yeah,
and
as he should.
as he should. Are you excited for? I know it's Jets talk right now, but like we talked about, the talent rises to the top. Are you still having high expectations for Michael Carter? Where are you looking to possibly be grabbing him right now? Because nobody else has that much high expectations, at least for him. I want you to tell me what you think about him as I search for his ADP.
Well, I'm just going to say I'm probably not going to draft him. He sucks. Because if I talk good about him, you're going to steal him like you did in our draft recently. But no, I think the running game is going to be really good for the Jets. They did kind of fix that offensive line, and I think they're going to rely on it, especially if Zach Wilson is a quarterback. They're not going to make him, if he's a starting quarterback. I don't even know who their backup is, so I'm assuming Zach Wilson is going to be the starting quarterback week one. And I think they're going to rely on the running game more. And I'll take those little dump down passes to Carter all day. I know Coleman's there, but I think eventually Carter has the talent to become an RB1, maybe for that team. Maybe not week 1, week 2, week 3, but maybe by week 8 he's taken most of the reps there in New York. He's more talented than Pirine. Coleman can never stand the field, so I would take Carter. I don't know. In my mocks, I was taking him later. I was taking him in the 8th, 9th, 10th round around there. It depends how the board shapes out, and if there's running backs left in the later rounds.
Well, right now he's going as RB30, right in between Melvin Gordon, who's in front of him, and Fournette's behind him. My boy Trey Sermon's right behind him there. But I don't know, RB30. That's like he's going to be a starting running back. He's going to be getting a lot of the touches. Like you said, I want to, I agree with everything that you had just said about Michael Carter. So I'm not going to go down that road, but I just, I would even take him over James Robinson. James Robinson doesn't have that role for a while, but he's 6 spots ahead of him. Hopefully that gets a little updated. Now, all right, one more player I want to talk about, and then we're going to get into our buys and ourselves. Head coach Matt Rule for the Panthers, they were talking about rookie Terrace Marshall, somebody we're all really excited about. But they said we're trying to force feed Terrace and bring him along as fast as we can. Now, with that being said, he's into an offense with Joe Brady, offensive coordinator, who was, part of the LSU offense. What do you think? You have Darnold there now, who's going to be reunited with Robbie Anderson, who's dealing with DJ Moore. So Terrace Marshall now should be that fourth option because you have McCaffrey as well. So, does this news make you a little more excited for Marshall? Is he someone you're still hopefully throwing a dart at in around 13, 14, 15? 13 too high. He's currently wide receiver 81.
And I think you should take that dart throw because Robbie Anderson, I believe, this is his last year on his contract, unless they extended him. And then it's really just DJ Moore. I mean, obviously McCaffrey too. And if you're somebody like me, you really believe in Sam Darnold and think he's going to have a great career there in Carolina. So,
what about for 2021? Do you think this season he could be someone that's relevant with potentially being the fourth option in a Sam Darnold-led offense? Because, how about this? Denzel Mims or Terrace Marshall?
I mean, Mims isn't even on the damn field. He might not even make the cut.
I'd still go Mims over there. Just because I think Mims is going to turn it around. He still has another month before the season starts, so I think he'll be all right. And for this year, I'm going to go Mims, but I do like Terrace Marshall still.
What about Rondale Moore or Terrace Marshall?
Rondale Moore, Arizona, right?
Yeah.
I like Moore.
Probably Rondale Moore because I think he'll have a better chance of being the third option.
Or the second option.
Maybe. If something happens with Green.
Green didn't perform last year, and Christian Kirk doesn't want to be a football player anymore. So because he hasn't performed in years, so he has a chance to be a wide receiver too there. And
That's fair.
my question is, I'm trying to pull up Sam Darnold's stats, and is there enough throws to feed all those wide receivers and McCaffrey?
Yeah. So,
Because
what the heck? Carolina last year actually even before with Ron Rivera they were throwing a lot, but I mean even last year Carolina they were 22, so 35 attempts a game, but that was with Bridgewater who couldn't really throw much downfield. I know people are going to say Darnold can't, but Robbie Anderson showed a lot with the Jets, which is what got him paid with Carolina. So I think they're going to be able to move the ball downfield more. But I don't know. I think 35 to 36 attempts a game is still reasonable. That at least for me right now, I've got Marshall with around 80 targets. So I think that he can turn that into a productive 600, 700 yards with about 5 touchdowns. That's something that I think is extremely reasonable for him. Which if that's the case, though, I think you're going to have Robbie Anderson or DJ Moore disappointing.
Yeah, I'm doing the math right now. Before last season, he averaged about 30 to 31 throws per game. Last season, he averaged 22 throws per game, Darnold. So I think if you're counting on all 4 of those options to be involved in the passing game, I think you need Darnold to throw at least 35 times a game, and he hasn't done it yet. And I mean, he played for the Jets, so but I'm staying away. I'm staying away. Wow. And now I'm happy that I traded away DJ Moore for Kittle. Now that we're talking about this, because I've been losing a little bit of sleep that I traded DJ Moore for Kittle.
Well, we're going to talk about him very soon as well, and I think that's a good segue to get us into our buys and our sells. But first, make sure you guys are checking us out on Twitter. You can follow us at DynastyMafia_FF. Make sure to follow me, Antonio, at Antonio DenisiFF. You can follow Eric at Biggie_FF and Keenan at Keenan_716. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the little bell for the subscribe button so you can get notified every time we're on. If you're not checking us out on YouTube, do that sometime. Thanks. All right. So Keenan and Eric, let's get us started here with our Dynasty buys. Eric, why don't you tell us? I know we've talked a little bit about these players already or their teams, which would be nice to kind of commingle that in. But why don't you get us started, Eric?
Yeah. My first buy, I've been talking about him for a little bit, how I think he's being a little disrespected here in the Dynasty industry, and that's Juju Smith-Schuster. I get it. I get why everyone's down on him. He stayed on the 1-year deal with Pittsburgh, but I just don't understand it. He's already put up a few thousand yard seasons in the league, or I believe maybe one and close to another. And even last year, in a considerably down year for him, he finished as the wide receiver 18 at 24 years old. How does that push him down to the wide receiver 30? I just don't understand that. He's in the same offense. I know everybody thought before that he was only good because Antonio Brown was on the other side of him. Maybe Johnson and Claypool are only doing good because Juju's there. I mean, I don't know. I think he's still a great wide receiver. This year you're probably looking at another, low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 year. So I get it, but mid to low-end wide receiver 2 years was what I assume, in the 18 to 24 range. I just don't get it.
Do you know if he's played more slot or outside last year? Or is Johnson in the slot more?
I don't have those numbers offhand.
Okay. I would say Johnson's probably in the slot more.
Yeah, that's the thing that.
Actually, they both were on both sides.
Yeah, they both played some slot. I was just curious who played more. The only thing that scares me about Juju is his quarterback. Obviously, he's not getting any younger, and we just talked about the Panthers having a lot of mouths to feed. If Pittsburgh decides to run the ball more than they throw the ball this year, is there enough to feed Claypool, Juju, and Johnson? Is my question. That's my only concern. Juju's a great player.
Yeah,
And-
and I get that, but I guess for a dynasty buy, it's just wide receiver 30 to me for a 24-year-old who's already dominated in the league. And like I said, I think the reason he did it is because he thinks he's going to get more money next year, which is totally understandable.
And he is, because the Bills are going to pay him next year.
Yeah, but that's another thing I was going to say is there might be a lot more options, a lot better landing spots this year as opposed to last year. So I don't know. I understood why he stayed on the 1-year deal. I think he's going to end up somewhere great. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to keep him around. Unfortunate for him, because I think he wants to stay there. But yeah, I think he'll land somewhere good and get a big contract, and I think he'll be great long term. Yeah. And like I said, he's still only 24 years old.
Yeah, he's
wide receivers going into the prime 27 to 29 years old.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk about a young wide receiver as well, Keenan?
Well, one of my buys is Courtland Sutton. I mean, if you have him and you're trying to trade him, you're not getting enough for him. And if you're trying to trade for him, the person that has him feels like you're not giving enough for him. Coming off that big ACL injury, this guy's going to come right back into being at wide receiver 1 in Denver. Yeah, we know they got Judy there, but Judy hasn't really stood out yet. At least last year he didn't. Everyone's worried about the quarterback position in Denver, but I mean, that great rookie season that Courtland Sutton had. Can you guys name the 3 quarterbacks that were throwing him the ball?
He had that first season. He had Trevor Siemian. No. Was that afterwards? It was Drew Lock.
It was Drew Lock, Joe Flacco, and Brandon Allen were throwing him the ball, and he had 1,112 yards. If someone's trying to get rid of him, I'm trying to buy him. But like I said, it's tough because of the potential that he has there. And I same thing with Juju though, with you, Eric. If you're trying to trade for him, the person that has him, they're going to want a lot more than you're trying to give up. So because they're young wide receivers and they're good wide receivers. Antonio, why don't we go to you now, buddy? Who do you have here?
Well, I'm just going to keep the theme going with young wide receivers.
You might as well, but I definitely disagree with this one.
Also 24.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown. We've been talking about him. We've been talking about the Ravens offense. And he's a player I've been waiting to break out for a long time. He's a player, well, I know it's only been 2 years, but I mean, I just feel like everybody's against him. I feel like he's getting shoved down now, especially with Rashad Bateman there. People are forgetting about him. Current ADP is 39. I guarantee you that's going to keep going down, especially with the injury now. And let me tell you why I love him. I love him because he's got 15 touchdowns on 104 catches. So that's a fantastic touchdown rate. It's like 13%. I'm just doing quick math in my head. 14%. Like, that's awesome. You know why? Because the guy burns people. And you know what happened last year? He burned people. He didn't burn people negatively. He was burning defensive backs. And there was at least 3 or 4 open passes. Lamar, had he hit him, should have scored and would have scored. And that's what I'm that's what I'm expecting. That's what I'm expecting this year. Is we've been talking about the efficiency coming back, and he's always going to get an opportunity for high touchdowns. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. He does have a boomer bust potential, but like I said, he's going as wide receiver 39 right now. You're going to tell me he's not going to finish as wide receiver 3? He finished as wide receiver 36 last season, and we had a bunch of issues with the Ravens, who decided to be a heavily run-first offense the second half of the season. And did that matter for Hollywood? No, that actually helped him. He had 5 touchdowns in the last 8 games, 5 of his 8 touchdowns. So I'm really excited for Hollywood. He had 100 targets last year, and I think 100 to 110 is a good range, which will make him more efficient, if not even, get some more catches under his belt.
Can I say something?
Of course.
You yell at me because I like Adam Thielen, even though he's a big wide receiver, or he's a big touchdown guy. And now you're loving Hollywood Brown because he gets touchdowns.
Well, touchdowns are what's important, and it's not just touchdowns. Last season, he had at least 77 yards in 6 of his 16 games, and he was injured for a couple that he didn't even get more than 3 targets. And we saw Lamar do really poorly. So this is a base floor wide receiver 36 with a very, very poor Ravens season. I don't know why. I don't know why you can't see him doing well. And Adam Thielen can't burn people.
All right, give me a first for Hollywood. Send it.
Adam Thielen gets all his touchdowns in the 2-yard line, which is going to really, really have problems for him.
I said, give me a first for Hollywood. Send it.
All right, we'll work on it. Yeah. So, Eric.
Yeah,
Eric,
I'll go right into mine.
Stick with the theme.
Mine's Mark Andrews. His ADP right now is 66, so he's gone down pretty considerably. Just a year ago, we were talking about this guy potentially being up there with George Kittle and Travis Kelce. And a big reason for that, like you said, with Hollywood, is the touchdowns. He's a threat to get double-digit touchdowns, like legitimately every single year. He's still young, I believe, 24 years old as well, or possibly 25 now. And I think they need to get back to that 2019 offense where Lamar he threw 35 touchdowns. 10 of them were to Mark Andrews. He had 98 targets that year. They need to get back to that. They need to get him going. They need to. That run game's going to run the offense. Obviously, we all know that. But in the passing game, Mark Andrews runs this offense. And they need to get him going in order to get the wide receivers going, in my opinion. So I think they figure it out. And I think he bounces back and has a great year.
Yeah, I think at least the two of us are pretty high in the Ravens and what Lamar Jackson can bring to the table.
I'm high on Mark Andrews.
Yeah, not Hollywood
or the other wide receivers.
I'm telling you, man, Hollywood, and call me crazy for saying this, but he reminds me so much of Tyreek Hill. He really does. Like, that's why after his rookie season, I just went crazy and buying him a lot of dynasty leagues. And like I said, you just watch. He gets touchdowns on long throws. If Lamar can make them, he gets really, really, really good with his route running ability when he's put in the slot and inside the 10-yard line, especially.
What did you just say?
What did I say?
What did you just say?
If Lamar can hit him, but that's what we're all focusing on. We're focusing on 2019, and hopefully he gets back to that and being more efficient. And that's what he's trying to work on is long throws. But I won't talk too much more about Hollywood, but I'm very excited for him breaking out this year. I know he's not going to get much more targets than the 100 that he had, but I think that the touchdowns and yards can certainly increase as well as the catches. Speaking of somebody increasing, though, Miles Sanders, I've been preaching for 2 years. He's going to do it, guys. This is the time. Jalen Hurts, don't get feared by it, guys. We were just talking about Deshaun Watson. Even if he goes to the Eagles, it's only going to help Miles Sanders. You need to go buy him this year because in 2022, guys, he's going to be worth way too much. You're not going to want to overpay for him, even though you still should. But Miles Sanders, he averaged over 5 yards a carry on this Eagles depleted offensive line, this crappy Carson Wentz season. Like, their head coach got fired. They had an absolutely atrocious year, and Miles Sanders was still able to be efficient. He had more yards than he did in his rookie year in 3 less games. And you know what? The guy's getting targets. He's getting touches. He had over 40 touches in the 3 games with Jalen Hurts. Over 50 touches, over 40 carries. I mean, he was getting the opportunities through the air. He was able to have 11 catches. That's something you're looking for. I'm not saying he's going to get, 300 plus. Well, actually, I'm saying he's going to get close to 300 touches, but 350 is out of the realm. But I certainly think that 250 carries and close to 50 catches is something Miles Sanders is going to get. And I just love what the Eagles are doing. I love adding Devonta Smith. I love letting Rager be there to stretch the field. And, even though Hurts runs, I get it. I get that he does that, but he was the number 8 running back on a point per game basis the last 4 weeks of the season when Hurts was there. So I'm really excited for Miles Sanders, who's currently being drafted in double digits for running backs. So
you're not scared of the rookie that they just drafted, Gainwell?
No, I'm not scared at all. I understand they keep adding people to the backfield, but talent rises to the top. Miles Sanders is going to keep proving to people. It was somewhat health last year, but everybody was injured with the Eagles. His first season, he just showed so many flashes. And Miles Sanders is going to be a verge of a top 5 running back in Dynasty in 2022. Mark my words.
I hope so, because I just traded him.
Well, there's another young player, Keenan, that you've got. People should be buying as well.
Yeah, Clyde Edward-Helaire. Sorry, the football game's still on. But last year you couldn't even get him. Good luck paying for him. You would have had to pay an arm and a leg and your firstborn to get your hands on him. Now this year everyone kind of is over him, I guess, but they're wrong because there's no Le'Veon Bell. You want to know why they signed Le'Veon Bell last year? Because Clyde Edward-Helaire secretly had a drop problem. He had a 7.3% drop percentage, and I think Andy Reid got a little annoyed with that because their offense was stalling. Maybe I got to go back and look at it. I just saw the stat come up through Twitter the other day, but I think that's why they signed Le'Veon Bell, was to help with the running back out of the backfield catching the ball. This year, there's no Le'Veon Bell. They don't have anyone there besides, is it Damian Williams that they signed from Kansas City?
I got Darryl back there.
Yeah, and his pass blocking too was an issue last year too. But I think this year there's no one in the backfield to take away reps. He's healthy, and I think they're going to throw him the ball a little bit more. They threw him the ball 55 times last year in 13 games. We could up that maybe to a couple more throws per game. Get about seven targets per game, and I think that helps him a lot. And I think right now you can get him fairly cheap, unless I have him. Good luck, Big E, trading for him. Big E's been trying to trade for him all winter, but yeah, I mean,
I think you're. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to cut you, but I think you're right in hitting everything. On the nail there, because the thing with CH is he did have issues with pass blocking, and Andy Reid's not a big rookie lover. They threw him in there because they see a lot of Westbrook, as we all heard in him. But I think as it got through, they realized he can't do what they need to get to that Super Bowl, and that's where Le'Veon Bell with that experience came in. Not necessarily, they don't need Bell. They didn't need Bell to get them to the Super Bowl. That presence was there, but they don't need, that 29-year-old running back. So he certainly brought everything off the field for them, and I think he guided Edwards-Helaire now. I really think that he gets it now. Year 2 into that offense, he was on pace for over 300 touches in that first 6 weeks. So you're right there, Keenan. I'm excited for him. I wasn't originally, but I think people are sleeping, like you said. He's currently 15th in redraft, but for Dynasty, you can still get him at a discount. All right, so that's our buys there. So let me just recap that quick before we get to our sells. I have Miles Sanders and Hollywood Brown. Eric had Juju and Mark Andrews, and Keenan had Cortland Sutton and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. All right,
there's some big names on this sell list over here.
There are some big names on the sell list.
Big names.
Yeah, let me go first too.
I would.
Well, it's funny because some of these guys show up on our later list too.
I'm actually going to do both of mine in one because there's kind of some similar reasons for both as to why I would sell both.
Time out. I love one, and Antonio loves the other one. Remember that.
Yeah. So mine are Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon. Let's see. Austin Eckler, his ADP is 23. Joe Mixon is 26. Just a couple of similar reasons. Like they're both 25, 26 years old. Joe Mixon, he's never had a full season. Out of 4 seasons, he's never played a full season. Austin Eckler's missed games in 2 out of his 4 seasons. Both their ADPs, in my opinion, are extremely high. And some of these guys that you can trade them for, like, and put it this way as well. Both of these guys, both of their teams have a potential out on their contracts after this season. So you're talking about a 27, 26-year-old running back going into free agency next season, potentially, or you could trade one for Jamar Chase and have a potential elite wide receiver for the rest of his career, or a Kyle Pitts, J.K. Dobbins, Anthony's buy, Miles Sanders. You can trade them for these guys, and you can get great players for the next decade. Or you can keep them and just have a running back for the potential next year or two who's potentially going to get hurt. But in the end, at the same time, I do think this year they are going to have some good seasons. But just where their ADP is right now, There's just some other guys I'd much rather have, and you can make those trades right now. And I think in the long term and short term, you are going to much prefer that and be happy with making that trade. I'm done.
You know, I think that was well said. I do. I think my problem with Mixon is if you can get youth, go for the youth. Absolutely. You're chasing. If you keep him Mixon, you're chasing what you've been chasing now for nearly 4 years, and you're hoping that the Bengals are going to come through and everybody's going to stay healthy. And there's just been every single year where there's been issues. It was the offensive line a couple of years ago. It was Joe Burrow last year. It was Mixon himself last year. So if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a top 10 asset. He's going to be a potential top 5 asset. And that's why for me, I'm holding him. I'm definitely not selling him unless, like you said, Eric, if you can come into play and you can get somebody like maybe a DeAndre Swift, if you do, Joe Mixon plus, like a Joe Mixon in a first, if that can get that done, I'd get there. But I can't sell him just yet.
I can't sell Austin Eckler because of the year he had 2 years ago.
And all those guys that I named, by the way, that you can trade, their ADPs were behind them or right next to them. So
yeah,
those are potential. You could trade Eckler in a second and potential. He was 2 spots behind Ridley. Would you trade Eckler in a second for Ridley? In a heartbeat.
In a heartbeat. Yeah,
Miles Sanders, or even Eckler in a second and third. You can make that happen right now.
Get him for Miles Sanders. Yeah, like I said, he was RB34.
You can get Miles Sanders plus for
RB20
probably.
You definitely could do that, yeah, because a lot of people don't think Sanders has a path to top 10, and Eckler's been showing that. So why don't we slide over then? Keenan, why don't you talk about who your sells are? If you want to go with both of them, or if you want to just talk about one of them.
Sure, I'll go with both. So my
Eric
first
started
one,
that.
yeah, I like that little trend, Eric. Even though I don't like you selling Austin Eckler, but my first one's Derrick Henry. Selling him, 27 years old. He's had 2 great seasons. I don't think right now you can't. What am I trying to say here? To buy him right now, to sell him right now, you're gonna get the most for him. His value has never been this high. So the reason I'm selling him, he's 27 years old. Last year, he had a whopping 378 attempts, or he touched the ball 378 times. 2 years ago, in 2019, he led the league in a regular season with carries. It's starting to get to that point, guys, where 27-year-old running back has all these carries and then hits a wall. Talk to Todd Gurley. Talk to DeMarco Murray. Talk to name a couple more. Over the years that have Le'Veon Bell. He's not even in the league anymore right now. So it's that time. It's that time to sell him, because by next year, everyone's gonna look at him. Oh, now he's 28. He's had another 300 touches. Everyone's going to get nervous as the more attempts and touches he gets. Everyone's going to start getting more nervous as the time goes. So I think right now is the best time to trade him, because he's one injury away from being what Todd Gurley is. Do
you think Derrick Henry might be a lifer? And what I mean by lifer is maybe he should be a lifer on your team, especially if you're a championship team. Like if you're a championship team, do you think you could see yourself selling him? Or
I mean, all these guys that we're talking about on sells can be a lifer on a championship team. But if you're barely making the playoffs or not making the playoffs at all, this is your time to sell them. This is when you're going to get your best bang for your buck. Like I said, if something did happen to Derrick Henry where he suffers one injury, his value's done.
Right. Well,
done
yes and no.
I mean, come on, Antonio.
He's a different breed for me. So he's an Adrian Peterson level of breed for me, to be honest.
I mean, where's AP? What happened to him?
Well, he's 30. He was like 35 now. He's still rushing, but the guy tore his ACL when he was 29.
Yeah, and what happened to him after that?
He came back and did 2,000 yards.
Look at his ADP though. I'm talking about, and if you were trying to trade him before that 2,000 yards, you weren't getting the value for him.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair, but I don't know. I guess it's FOMO maybe because
he could put up.
Yeah.
And then after he had that 2,000 yards for Adrian Peterson, you weren't able to get the value for him because of his age.
It's like and every player that's had over 2,000 yards that following season, they've dropped, I think, like at least 500 or 600 yards.
Yeah.
And it's elites, it's legendary players. But I honestly, I think Derrick Henry might beat that this year for year 2. I really do. Like, I think 1,600 or 1,700 yards is very, very easy for him, especially this year.
It's a lot of mileage, man.
It is. He's someone that I think can avoid it, though. He's a damn Mack truck. Well,
yeah, I'm a damn Mack truck too, but but no, seriously though, a lot of mileage, and it's just a trend that happens, you know. Well, and you in especially in Dynasty, you gotta be ahead of the trend because
if you want to. Sorry, I just you're speaking of being trendy here. Your other sell seems to be somebody that is catching a trend of similar injuries too. So you're afraid of a young player with an injury as you were afraid of an older player with an injury. So
what are you
doing with Cam Akers?
I'm selling, and I made a trade yesterday. I sold him because he might not have a starting spot next year. That's the most he's going to come back from his injury. That's no problem. But if Henderson has a great year this year, which he can, because last year he performed during the season before he lost his job. I think he actually got hurt. What if Henderson does finish at RB1? Are the Rams going to be like, "Oh, here you go, Akers. This is your starting role," or are we going to do this again? What we had to do when he was a rookie?
Yeah, I know you and I were talking about that, and that's it's a fear of mine too. Is because I don't think that he's more talented, Darrell Henderson, than Cam Akers.
No.
But there are other colleagues out there, especially very professional athletes that used to play that have said that Darrell Henderson is better. They think talent wise he's better, and
he's young.
He is young. They drafted him the year before.
Yeah.
And he was drafted in the 3rd round, so only a round behind Akers. It's just the fact that they drafted Akers and he was given the role in the playoffs. It's just, I think Henderson needs to have an amazing year to supplant him, and I just don't see it. So it'll be. But what would you take for him then? So, because you got to take at least a first. And why don't you talk about the trade you did actually?
I traded him, Tua, and a second for Adams and Love. So I got it.
Yeah, Davante Adams.
Yeah. What's that?
I said Davante Adams.
Davante Adams, yeah. So I got a wide receiver 1, 2, 3, or 4, wherever he finishes. I got rid of an injured player off my team, and it sucked to get rid of him because I have high hopes for him. But I have big concerns for him. I really do, and I don't think I'm the only one.
No, you're not.
It's not possible for him. If it was possible for him to gain a starting role in the middle of the season, it's possible for him not to ever see it again, especially in that offense. Because McVay, he falls in love with players, and he can forget about Akers. But like I said, next year we can be doing what we were doing his rookie season. Like, get Henderson out, throw Akers in, let's go. And then what? You're just waiting for him to. Just like Derrick Henry, I don't think Cam Akers' value is ever going to be any higher than this right now, unless he gets a starting role.
Yeah, and I don't even know if it's considered high right now. So, all right. We'll have to see, I guess, what happens with Henderson come week 1 because the ball is literally in his court. All right, so let's talk about my 2 sells, and they're both young players. They're both sophomores coming in. I know you guys like a couple of them too, but it's Jerry Jeudy and Antonio Gibson. And, it pains me to say this about Jerry Jeudy because I really love the talent. I really loved him coming out. But the problem is until Denver fixed that quarterback issue, even though he's going to be fighting for number 1 in targets right now, I'm not sure how much I can trust the performance for happening. So that's why, for me, at least in Dynasty, you can sell him to someone that really is a Jerry Jeudy fan, and you can get some top dollar for because he was with players with minimum 100 targets. He was 2nd in yards. So that was really, he's second in yards per catch, sorry, not yards. So that was really good to see with him. He's a great route runner. Like, he brings a lot to the table, but he also had a lot of drops. And I don't know, with Courtland Sutton coming back, you were talking about him already. And with Noah Fant supposedly breaking out, when they have Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, both who can catch passes, it's just scared me a little bit. I know there's a lot of vacated targets with Tim Patrick and Deshaun Hamilton leaving, and I just don't know, though, if that's enough for me to say, hey, Jerry Jeudy is going to be someone that can still be a wide receiver 1 or even a wide receiver 2 this year. And that's why I think if I could sell him for a first plus, which you definitely should be getting because you just got him last year, like, you should be getting him close for first and a second. Or if you want to get someone like, let me think here, if you can get like a Devonta Smith, if someone has a recency bias, now he got injured and they're worried about Jalen Hurts, you could probably get a Jerry Jeudy plus, because don't forget, he was going 1.5, 1.6 last year.
Yeah.
And also, so pains me on the Jerry Jeudy. It also pains me to say Antonio Gibson. He's someone I didn't really like coming into the year. I wasn't very excited for him because it was nothing but hype. He didn't do a lot in college. He was productive, a touchdown basis and an efficiency basis, but I didn't know how he would last getting all that work, especially being more of a wide receiver. But he did. He got a lot of options and a lot of opportunity, and he did well with it. But what's changed with Washington? Nothing but additions. There was no subtractions with Washington's offense, and that's what scares me. You got Logan Thomas, who just got paid after he broke out. You got J.D. McKissick, who was second or third in catches in the whole league in running backs, and he's still there. You have McLaurin, who's supposed to break out a little bit more with Fitzpatrick, and then you have Curtis Samuel that they added, who's somewhat familiar with that offense already. I find him being that fourth, third person that's battling for targets, and that's even aggressive. Like, it might be fifth. And if he's not getting catches, then he's not someone that's certainly going to fulfill his ADP where he's currently going. As I lost my page while I was pulling that back up, sorry. Antonio Gibson's currently going running back 12, like in between Austin Eckler and Joe Mixon. I don't even know if I would take, like, he's ahead of Clyde Edwards-Helaire as well and Miles Sanders. I would take all of them over him. I'm especially in Dynasty. Like, I'm not excited for what Antonio Gibson can. I'm excited for him. I'm not excited for where the value is.
And Fitzy's there.
If Fitz fails and he doesn't really throw to his running backs, and if he's already thrown to McKissick, can you see him throwing to McKissick and throwing to Gibson enough to make you say, hey,
no,
I'm excited for him?
No.
It's this is a really good segue into one of my guys.
Yeah, we've talked about a couple of my guys. We've been getting into it.
Kind of going to counteract your point too. So if you want me to talk about him, I can.
Yeah, and that's the last thing I had to say is he's somebody that you really can hope to stick to be efficient, but he needs the workload to also be efficient to hit the value of an RB1. And why don't you tell us, Eric, talk about your my guy. So we're going to switch over. That was our dynasty buys and sells. So we're going to talk a little bit about our players for 2021. We're planting our flag in on them. Obviously, you heard Eric allude. He's sticking with Washington football team, and he could start with his player. But we've each got two players that we really think you should be drafting this year, and they're going to help be league winners.
Yeah, and my first one is Terry McLaurin. And part of this reason – and part of it is why I like Antonio Gibson is, obviously with Fitzpatrick there now, we know he's a gunslinger. We know he's going to get his wide receivers the ball. On top of that, last year between the four different quarterbacks that Washington had, they had over 600 pass attempts. If you give that to Fitzpatrick in this offense, we can legitimately see McLaurin getting into that 150, 160 target range. He had 134 last year in 15 games with a bunch of crapshoot quarterbacks. Give him a gunslinger, somebody that we know wants to make the playoffs and is going to throw the ball. You add Curtis Samuel on the other side of the field. You get this run game going with Antonio Gibson. This offense is going to be a well-oiled machine, and it's going to be producing fantasy points. I think the passing is going to come away from McKissick a little bit. I think Antonio Gibson's going to be on the field more with Curtis Samuel being there now. Like I said, Logan Thomas is still there. And Fitzpatrick's a gunslinger. I don't see him checking down to McKissick 11 times a game. I don't see it. So, like I said, McLaurin's one of my guys. I think you should draft him. He's going to be a solid option this year, and I think he's going to be great.
Stevenson just had a 91-yard touchdown run.
Nice, Ramondre. You know, and then we didn't even talk about Dammy Brown they drafted. And they also Antonio Gandy Golden from last year. So I don't know. I love McLaurin. You know, I love McLaurin. I'm excited for him getting a lot of those targets. I just think he might be the only one. All right. Speaking of targets, though, I want to talk about my boy Cooper Kupp. Currently going wide receiver 19. And that's too damn low, Dame. That's too damn low. Rent is not high enough. We need Cooper Kupp to be brought up more because he's going to finish, guys, as a wide receiver 1. He's going to finish as a wide receiver 1. Wholeheartedly, full-fledged wide receiver 1. You know why? Because Matthew Stafford is in town. And guess what, guys? Matthew Stafford has only thrown more than 600 times. 0 times since his second year. 0 times. That's ages ago. That's like 8 seasons ago. And he's going to come now to be with Sean McVay, who just lost their starting running back. And they got rid of a couple wide receivers, you know, like Josh Reynolds. They got rid of Gerald Everett, their tight end. They're going to concentrate those targets to Robert Woods. They're going to concentrate to Cooper Kupp. They're going to concentrate to Tyler Higbee. I'm excited for Tutu Atwell. He's not going to do a crazy amount, though, right now. And they also have, whom I'm blanking on, their other rookie they drafted last year. But point being, Stafford's going to throw the ball a lot, and he is very efficient. He's had the most or the same amount of passing touchdowns or more than Jared Goff in the last 4 years. So in Goff's 4 years, and Goff topped 4,600 yards 2 out of the 4 times. Stafford hasn't done that since his rookie year. So like we all know, Jared Goff is Jared Goff. You take Matthew Stafford from that Detroit Lions crappy team, and you put him into this Rams now, you're going to see exactly what's going on and what's going to happen because he's going to get a lot of targets, at least 130 to 140. And Cooper Kupp had his worst season last year. And in 8 games, he only had, or in 16 games, we saw Jared Goff do it, but he only had 10.5 yards per catch. His career average was 13.5 before that. So I'm really excited for Cooper Kupp getting a lot of targets. We saw what Golden Tate did. He had over 1,300 yards in a year and over 1,000 in 3 out of the 4. So we know Matthew Stafford loves his slot receivers, and Cooper Kupp's big, man. So we'll move up. We'll move a little quicker for our my guys so we can wrap up the show here. Keenan, I know you got your 2 you could talk about. I know we did talk about one of them a lot already.
Yeah, since we're talking about targets, I'll just keep the theme going. Austin Eckler had 68 targets in 8 games with when he was a running back 1 there before and after his injury. If you translate that to 16 games, that's 126 targets. So that's Christian McCaffrey numbers right there. My prediction is there's going to be 2 running backs that are they're going to have 100 or more targets. It's going to be Christian McCaffrey or Austin Eckler. And their new offensive coordinator, forget his name. It doesn't matter what his name is, but he compared him to Reggie Bush, Alvin Kamara, and Sproles. So,
Joe Lombardi.
Yes, that's him. And that's I know people are concerned about injuries, but you can be concerned about any player getting injured. My last one's Nick Chubb. I think he's just my guy, man. Do I even need to say anything? The guy's a beast, especially as the game goes on. The guy gets better and better. I'm not worried about Kareem Hunt. I'm not worried about Baker Mayfield throwing the ball more. That offense is going to still be a run-first offense. So, Nick Chubb.
I love those. Let me dive into my last one here.
Do you love him, though? Because you just sold one of my guys.
Well, yeah. So, it's my guy for this year. I like Eckler. And I love Nick Chubb. I love me some Nick Chubb. So, but my last one is A.J. Brown. Oh, yeah. This guy is coming into his 3rd season. And what he's showed in his first 2 seasons it's just ridiculous what he's done. This dude is a beast out on the field. I know he's missed some time, but he is very young. He's 24 years old, so I think he's going to overcome those issues. And just last year, pace him out for 16 games, 140 targets, over 1,400 yards, and 14.5 touchdowns. And now you add Julio Jones on the other end, which a lot of people look at that as a down thing, but I look at it as a positive thing. Corey Davis had a lot of work last year. Jonnu Smith, he got some targets last year. both of those guys are gone, I think there's plenty of targets to go around still for AJ Brown. Julio, he's still amazing. He's still great, but he is another year older. And AJ Brown, he's a young elite talent that he is. So I think he's still going to get his, and he's going to be great. I am planting my flag on him in a few leagues.
Yeah, it's tough to argue with someone like AJ Brown, especially when they did add Julio. So my young wide receiver, because we've been theming tonight. DJ Moore, he is my guy, my player this year. He's finally going to become that elite wide receiver that everyone's been expecting him to do. He's got 11 targets inside the 10-yard line in 3 seasons. 11 targets. That's it. He's got 10 touchdowns in his career.
Isn't that crazy?
So isn't that crazy?
It's not
10 touchdowns in his career. He's got
10 more touchdowns than you only, Anthony. He should have at least 25.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a bigger bank account, but I mean, I could at least gotten a little more touchdowns. But I mean, I give him some respect. But in his first 3 seasons, though, and he's only played in 46 games, he only started 39 of them. So he really hasn't even played all 48 like some others. He's 20th in receiving yards. 20th. The guy gets a hell of a lot of receiving yards. And Keenan, you talked about quarterbacks with Denver and Cortland Sutton. I mean, can you name me the quarterbacks that have played with DJ Moore over the last 2 years? I mean, we've been seeing the crap play, especially Kyle Allen. I mean, come on, goodness. So point being, I mean, he's great. He really is. He's got 2 touchdowns and then 4 and 4 in his 3 years. And with Sam Darnold, they got the best quarterback he's seen. I'm not saying that he's elite, but I'm saying he's better than what he's had. And he's obviously going to have a connection with Robbie Anderson, who's going to help draw away targets. We talked about Terrace Marshall earlier. CMC's back. I think DJ Moore, if he could even get 7 touchdowns, that's all he needs. You're talking about a wide receiver 1.
I'll take 5.
You're talking about a borderline top 5. Yeah, you're right. Borderline top 5 wide receiver because he's going to get you close to 1,300 yards and 90 plus catches. And before I close it, one more thing, actually, sorry. Cooper Kupp, I forgot to mention, had only 3 touchdowns last year too. So if you bring him back to his normal of 8, he would have been wide receiver 6 last year. So I think we're going to see a lot of regression from some of these players to the mean of their touchdowns getting better. So I'm very excited for them. So that's going to wrap up our My Guys. Keenan, plant your flags on Austin Eckler and Nick Chubb. Eric with AJ Brown and Terry McLaurin. And I've got DJ Moore and Cooper Kupp. So
are we done here? Are we done here? I got some mock drafts to do.
Keenan, keep your mock drafts going, man. We'll get it out here, but make sure you guys are following Keenan. I think he's going to actually live stream some mock drafts.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea.
There you go. Keenan _716.
How many people would watch?
You got to do it
at least 2.
At least me. I'll turn it on.
At least you. Yeah, Eric would just do it just to spite me. But you'd watch, right, Antonio?
I'm here for you, baby. I'm here for you.
At least one.
There you go. Make sure you're following Eric at Biggie _FF and myself at Antonio Denisi FF. Make sure you're following the pod at Dynasty Mafia _FF. Check us out on YouTube. Check out the website, dynastymafiapodcast.network. Thanks again for listening, everybody. We should see you all very soon. Any closing thoughts?
Get some Bush Apple. They're delicious.
All right, they're not stop with that. Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor.
All right, man. Mafia out.